Hey y'all, this is StevenReyes on the Ethical Violations and Board Discipline blog. So today, we're going to go on the questions just in a row, try and keep it short and sweet. First was the most common reasons for a board discipline for a counselor, and what was my reaction? So ironically, as we're looking through that list there, the most common, it seems, through the long-term licensees are actually for continued education. I thought that was interesting because I've been in a couple different fields that require CE, and man, I don't know why it's just so difficult for some people or fun for others to where there's just such a huge number of people that, cannot, for some reason, motivate themselves to get it done. So that looks pretty common there. Um, some of the themes that I see when I was looking at the common reasons for board discipline was the most common throughout the available time period in my state records of Nevada is actually acting outside capacity of the license. There was 63 incidents from now until 2009, which is a long time, I feel like, for just that many. That's, of course, just reported and just dealt with, if you will, including all of the dismissals. So there could be even less or more. As Jake said, well done. I think there's quite a bit that's not recorded. So we'll have to hope that it stays low and literally. And the second there was the intern acting as a full license and ironically impairment, specifically in the case of intoxication. The specific case that I'm going to be referring to here today for that question happened on June 7th of 2013. So it was a long time ago anyway. I thought that was interesting as well. But essentially, the intern would see clients without supervision, and they would enact things outside of their capacity. They would essentially not only act like they're the counselor to the clients, but give them advice and most likely diagnosis and things like that could potentially harm a lot of people and ruin their own career as well, given the standards there. But the intoxication, that's the main thing that just absolutely blew my mind. That means that they're either, who knows what's going on? They could have a lot of things in their life. It could just be for fun and they're young, that kind of vibe. Who knows? I don't know, but impairment is extremely dangerous because that clearly has a factor in their situation. The behavior that led to the discipline, as I noted there, was just seeing the clients without the supervision is what essentially got him busted, and they would enact things outside the capacity under alcohol. So the ACA Code of Ethics that applies to this, to the case, and the state code that was violated was the Nevada Code 641A 310, 3, 6, 7, and 8. So I thought that was interesting as well, that it's all just right down in the middle, and that's impersonating a licensed marriage and family therapist as an intern, and then committing unethical practices contrary to the interest of the public, unprofessional conduct, and negligence, fraud, or deception in connection with services that he or she is not licensed to provide. The outcome of the board discipline was a $5,000 fine and a public reprimand and mandatory hours of, looks like it's over a year. So it means that they just essentially set themselves back as an intern, that they have to do at least everything they've done again. Not sure what actually ended up. Maybe they got lucky on some things, but I doubt it. Now, the ACA Code of Ethics and the state code, essentially, they talk about counselor impairment. In the ACA, that's C2G for the section there. That's counselors are to monitor themselves for signs of impairment. That's from their own physical, mental, emotional problems, and refrain from offering or providing professional services when impaired. Clearly, this person did not do that. But the question this brings to mind, and to kind of conclude this video, is at what point is impairment, by definition there, too much or too little to be reasonable as human beings? Essentially, everyone's going to have something that comes up from loss of family member, school, financial, who knows. And some things might just be really not even that important or impactful to other people, but for a certain individual, it might affect their wellness a little bit more than normal, from maybe in relation to something else. I don't know, but what at what point is that too much or too little to say that the person is impaired in regards to availability for clients? Essentially, we can't just keep transferring, a dozen plus clients over and over again if, let's say, there's just a trend where a lot of bad things happen and everybody's impaired. I mean, it's just very interesting to think about. That typically won't happen, of course, but given the idea that it happens to people we don't think that it would happen to, the counselor, I think it's not too out of range for question. But I don't know. I'll have to see what happens and study the trends a little more as far as what happens. But all right, well, that's my video, and thank you for watching. Have a good one.